every time I open the Photos app, Allie's face, and it's like all
my pictures. This man was sitting by me at the coffee shop, and he looked over and was like, "That's not gonna work, by the way." I love therapy. I love therapy. Everyone should go to therapy. I do believe
Praise
that.
God, I agree. What's up, world? Welcome to the Rooted Real podcast. I'm your host, Carlie Dill. We ask real questions with real people about the real world. We're so excited to have you here, and with that, let's hop right into this week's episode of the Rooted Real podcast. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Rooted Real podcast. I'm your host, Carlie Dill, and we are joined today with the one and the only Allie Wolf.
Hey,
guys, this is so big. Allie, this is actually her second time on the podcast.
It's true.
But we decided to re-record because, as I said last week, we got a mega upgrade.
Literally, it looks so good in
Last
here.
time we shot this, there was like a dog barking.
No, we were on your couch, like sunk into your couch. There was a dog barking on your balcony.
It was an experience.
It was.
To say the least.
It was fun.
It was fun. And we had Jolene and the boys were just like, it was hot.
It was hot.
It actually gets kind of hot in here, but it was hot. Like...
We also recorded for like 2 hours, I think.
And I feel like we like talked about not much.
We didn't cover very much at all. Needless to say, you guys are getting the good stuff today.
You guys are getting the good stuff today. We have upgraded
grown.
And we have decided to come back better than ever. Okay, so for those who don't know, Allie and I live in LA when I live in LA. But yeah, we live in LA, and Allie and I are both from Texas, right?
I'm from New Mexico originally, but I lived in Texas for 5 years.
Right. So. And then Allie and I have been friends. How long have we been friends now?
We've been friends since before I moved to LA.
I know.
It's been a few years now.
Like 2, you think?
Probably a little bit more even than 2, because I came and went to Alabama Hills with you.
That's emotional.
That is. I know. I was thinking about that on my drive over here.
It's emotional, I fear. Okay. Well, we've been friends for a long time. Okay. So, Allie, tell the people, you're pursuing comedy and acting.
Yes.
So, tell us, why are you pursuing comedy and acting? And, like, how did this happen? How did you start pursuing comedy? Do you feel like people can pursue comedy? Like, tell us about that.
So I grew up acting. I grew up doing theater. I always had dreams of being on Broadway. That was my thing when I was, excuse me, I'm getting choked up already.
Funny.
Oh, thank you. No, that was my thing. I grew up acting. I grew up doing plays, doing musicals. And then I went to college for musical theater. And it was when I was in college that some of my professors and some of my managers even had said, maybe you should try comedy. And I loved comedy growing up. I loved SNL. I was obsessed with all of the women from Kristen Wiig and Maya Rudolph and even Gilda Radner when I was younger, all of those women. But I had never thought I could do it. And so I kind of just pushed that away. And then a few years went by, 4 or 5, and I was in therapy. And I love therapy. I love therapy. Everyone should go to therapy. I do believe
Praise
that.
God, I agree.
But I was in therapy, and one of my therapists had said, you need to do something just for fun, just for you. And I swear, I think this thought really did come from the Lord, because I just thought, I'm going to try an improv class, which I had never thought to do. And knowing me now, it's hard to imagine that wasn't somewhere in the back of my head, just because I do it all the time.
Right.
But at this time, this was probably 2023. Yeah. Wow. I had that thought, and so I lived in Dallas, and I went to an improv class, and I loved it. But I mean, I didn't think it would ever take me to LA. Yeah. And so that's kind of how I got into the comedy side. And
and then how'd you come to LA? Like, what made you be like, because for context, you can tell the people, but you worked at a church.
Yeah.
Like, you were on staff. Didn't you go to seminary?
Yeah, I did.
I think we talked about this last time, but I literally forget.
I do too. No, I went to school for acting, and so I was at school for a year. And my freshman year of college, I had really just been praying and trying to really surrender my life and my plans, probably for the first time really in my life, had asked God, what do you want me to do? And I really had this deep sense that he doesn't force us to do anything, but he was just telling me to go pursue vocational ministry or working at a church, which was also the last thing that I wanted to do. But I ended up I ended up moving to New Mexico, finishing my degree online, switched my degree to biblical studies, and then worked at a church. And then that kind of led me to Dallas, where I stayed for 4 years, and I worked at a church out there, and I went to seminary. And it was during that time, I really did have to grieve. Looking back, it was such a good time. That's the thing I never want to communicate my story and make it sound like, oh, if you follow Jesus, he's going to take everything and force you to do something you don't want to do. It's not like that.
It's not always the hard decision. Like, people think sometimes God's, but it's not always. Yeah.
No, it was a beautiful time in my life. And I did. I grieved my dreams of being an actor. I didn't think that would ever come back around. But I also got something I think that was a really valuable gift, which was learning who I was and finding joy in life and relationships and ultimately in Jesus without any of the pressure of, or not even pressure, but just without, I had found my entire identity in acting since I was really little. Yeah. And so I thought it was amazing. But probably the same time I got into the improv class, I started kind of having just those feelings in my heart that something was changing. And I think when I moved to LA and I got back into acting, it really was that sense of, okay, I definitely found who I was without it. But now that I'm back into it, it really is such a core part of my life. Yes. Yeah. And I think it's how God made me. Wow. And it's more enjoyable too now that I've had a time that I know I can have a really rich life without it. Yeah. And it makes me really grateful to get to do it every day too.
Wow. That's awesome. That's crazy. I feel like it's so funny because I feel like you moved to LA and then you're pursuing comedy, and we'll come back to that. But something really interesting is the last time we filmed this, you hadn't like done social media yet
at all.
Like, no, remember? Oh my gosh, talking about it. I'll have to try and pull a clip because like I don't know where you were, but it had not worked yet.
No,
period. I remember it had not worked yet.
For the context too, I did not have social media when I was a kid. I didn't have it in college.
You weren't a social media kid.
I was not a social media. I didn't have Snapchat. I didn't, and it was not for any reason other than I really just didn't like it. Yeah. I have really bad ADHD and I was like, this is taking me away from my focus. But when I moved to LA, everyone was like, social media is the currency of this industry in a lot of ways. Yeah. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I feel like a lot of Steven Spielberg would be like, no, it's not. But I just feel like you meet someone and people are like, oh, what's your Instagram? And so I made an Instagram, but I never posted. You can vouch for this.
I have screenshots. Screenshots because we'll back up. So pretty much what happened, guys, Allie moves to California. She starts pursuing her dreams. We all know Allie's like the best. We're like, Allie's the best, like so talented. And like, you know, in life, there's like people that you're like, oh, they're like kind of fine. But then like our friends. Like, okay. Cute. But then you meet people in like, I would say our friend group, you know, and our community is just like top tier people, the best, like they're the best. In like, I would say a lot of like the country, you know, and I don't say that lightly. But we're like, we know Allie's awesome, and Allie knows, Allie, you're confident in yourself. I feel like you're like, I know what I'm capable of, but everyone's like, you gotta do social media, you gotta do social media, you gotta do social media. Social media is the currency of today. Social media is the entry point into everything, into so many rooms. Right. Like, social media is the door now, and it's how you get through the door to sit at the table, which is, you know, that's a conversation. But I'm just curious, like, what has it been like for you as a Christian, but also just for you as a person? But what was it like? And again, also you can tell the people, I think you have like, I don't know how many thousand followers, but you started with literally none. And it was like you and your little like college like photos. And I remember I was like, Allie, we gotta take headshots.
It was me. It wasn't even a selfie. I don't even know.
But you looked amazing. She looks amazing. But I was like, Allie, let me take headshots for you.
No, literally. Because I didn't have anything against social media. Right. To be abundantly clear, I just didn't have it and I didn't want it. Yeah. I didn't know how to use it. It stressed me out.
It wasn't something you were passionate about.
I didn't know what was going on TikTok. I was such a boomer. I still kind of am, honestly. People will say stuff and I'll be like, oh, yeah. But I am learning.
You're like, who are the boom boys?
But boom boys? I don't even know who they are. I'm sure they're awesome.
Costco boys, the Rizzler.
Yes, I know the Rizzler. Okay. Yeah.
She's relevant.
But everyone had said you need to do social media. And I remember I signed with my agent. He's still my agent. He's great. But I had signed with him and he told me he was like, I moved here during the SAG strike, so there was no acting work going on.
Right.
And that was actually, it could have seemed like the worst timing, but it was the biggest blessing in disguise because when I moved here, all of the agents who would usually never even take a second glance at someone like me with no credits, and I wasn't even in the actors union, nothing. They wouldn't have even taken a second glance, but they all did because nobody was working. And so I remember.
They almost had to?
Yes, I moved out here. I didn't have social media. I was not in the union, nothing like that. I didn't even have a reel. I didn't have any screen credits. I only had stage credits, and I had just taken 5 years off and dropped out of acting school from their
resume's like not great. Right.
And I remember thinking, oh, this sucks. I'm here during the strike. There's no work. But I got on my laptop and I went to a coffee shop and I wrote a very personalized email, and I emailed like 400 agents. I got on like every SAG agent in ever. And I emailed all of them, and this man was sitting by me at the coffee shop, and he looked over and was like, that's not gonna work, by the way. That's not how this industry works anymore.
Like, good luck.
Yeah, and I was literally like, okay. You have stories of people moving to LA and they meet someone who like guides them through life, and then I meet a man who's like, you should just quit now. But that man, I'm gonna find him on IMDb. I remember what he worked on. I'm gonna email
when
him.
you make it, you're gonna be like, you said it would work. You should send him a photo with your agent, like,
yes, but I met my agent, and he was an agent who usually wouldn't give me the time of day. The timing was awesome. What a gift. And so he was like, I'm gonna take a chance on you, but you have to do these 3 things. He gave me a couple career tips, but he was like, you need to get on social media, and you have to grow a following. Preferably just get 10,000 followers, then you can do whatever you want. And in my head, I don't even know if I had 1,000 followers.
Maybe I think I remember. I think you had like 1,000 to 2,000 followers, but you had never posted like a reel ever. I
barely posted pictures.
Yeah, you had barely posted photos.
And so I set a goal for myself for the summer. I was like, from May to September, I'm gonna post 3 times a week, and then if I hate it, I never have to post again, but 3 times a week, just because I'm a really big believer in consistency.
Yeah.
If I do something, I want to do it. And I have this friend, Jonathan Guarmo. I hope he listens to this. I'll send it to him. But he really did change my life in a lot of ways because I didn't know anything. Keep in mind, I wasn't even watching Reels and TikTok, so I didn't know what was viral. I don't know. And I was new to comedy as well, so I didn't even really know what my comedic voice was. And I think you're learning that forever, but I didn't know. And so we just started kind of filming videos to see what would stick. And he filmed with me. He taught me how to use CapCut. Please
Shout out CapCut.
Please never take CapCut away from us again.
That was horrible.
That was the worst day.
That was horrible.
But he helped me, and he started helping me make these reels, and so we filmed 3, and it was fun because my family and friends were all like hyping me up, like that's so fun.
Me and Jesse doing like post.
Well, then I posted 1, so it was so crazy because I think every video had gotten 5,000 views, something like that.
Normal,
just kind of normal hit, whatever. And my second week, we were filming videos for my second week, and I had this idea that I was like, oh, we should just do what I act like when I'm interested in a guy versus when I'm not interested in him. And it really wasn't even one of the planned videos. It was just like we were out, we were at a coffee shop filming, and I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. So we filmed, and it was definitely more fun. I felt like I was kind of not just doing what was popular, but I was like kind of more my sense of humor, at least one facet of it. And I posted it, and then I went to bed, and then I woke up and it had like, I think like 250,000 views or something, which was crazy. More than I ever thought. And
more than you'd ever seen.
Ever. Because I was getting 5,000 views on these videos. 2,000. I don't know.
Just started posting.
It was my second week. Yeah. So this was like my 4th or 5th post. And Jesse Dewick, who you just mentioned, he called me.
Shout out, Jesse.
We love Jesse.
Love you, Jesse.
We should do a whole podcast about Jesse. Also, he is like, my Instagram followers love him now. And this is a side note. We don't need to get into this. But we'll sidebar about that later. But he called me and was like, hey, this was a great video. He was super sweet. And he was like, do it again. And I was like, why would I do it again? I just did it, but I listened to him because he knows more than I do. And so I took another one, and sure enough, the next day it hit 1 million.
Crazy.
And then kind of from there, all my videos, for the most part, I mean, the algorithm is up and down, but it really started taking off. And it was so crazy because in the span of Probably
like
a month. Yeah. It was nothing crazy. I have like 18,000 Instagram followers.
But bro, you literally did that in like overnight.
It happened so fast. And then it was like all of a sudden Dancing with the Stars was DMing me being like, do you want to come to the show?
Crazy.
Or people would come up. Like that was the crazy thing.
That was crazy. You did tell me about that.
I remember, we went out. Do you remember we went out in Venice and that guy came up to me and was like, is this you when you're interested or not interested? And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, this is so weird.
All my friends started to be like, I love Allie's funny reels. And I was like,
so
bro,
sweet.
That's so, dude, that I just love it. I'll have to find texts and like put them on it. Cause I literally remember texting you being like, it's gonna work. Like, it's gonna work. Like you just, and like, even it's so funny. Like I've been chronically online for like a decade. And like, I feel like you did such a good job of like finding your niche, and not even niche, like people talk about that, but just finding your lane and like finding what people enjoy watching, you know, and that is like so hard to do, like, you know, like so challenging, and you were consistent. You did it like all the time.
Well, and I really do. I'm really grateful to everybody that, like you and Jonathan and Jesse especially, because it really, and then, oh my gosh, my friends Chris and Bryson who filmed every video with me. It's always Chris's voice in the background just being like, what? And then there's like 1,000 comments of people being like, justice for this guy. I'm like, okay, sorry. But I think I'm really grateful to people. They're not even in the videos. But people would be like commenting like, I like this guy better than the last guy. Sometimes it's one of my brothers in the background of a video.
Funny.
But I really am grateful just because I had no idea how the internet or the algorithm was
going to receive it all.
Yeah. And I did have to kind of fight. Like, I like to think that I'm not crazy around guys that I like.
No, you're not.
I had to kind of fight being like, oh, I don't want people to think that I'm weird.
Right, like we were fighting like that fear of man, and totally.
Just what people think, and it's just like, you know what? It always makes me smile when someone would message me and be like, I've kept so many messages of people being like, your videos made me laugh in a really hard time, or they always give me a bright spot, or like things like that, and it's just funny because I would not put that much weight on a social media post, right? And I mean, it's fun and it's silly and it's not that serious, but it is always sweet to think, if I really think about why I'm actually in this industry and why I love comedy, then I want to make people laugh. And if it's doing that, then that's awesome. Praise God.
That's awesome.
But
praise God.
Yeah, shout out to Carlie. No, you really have. You were always. And then some of the videos started going viral, and she called me, or we went to Larchmont that day. Oh, and you were like, bro, you need a new profile picture.
It was out of love. Like, I was not.
It was like me at a wedding. I was like, there's like people in the background, and Carlie was like, come over. I'll take a picture.
Guys, you want to see something so funny? Wait. So funny. If you're not a photographer, you won't understand this, but when you take DSLR photos, they timestamp in your catalog in like a different way in the future. Oh, so they're like timestamped. Or in the
past, right?
Or in the past.
That always
happens. All of them that I took, all these headshots that I took of Allie are timestamped for April 30th of 2025. And every single time I open my phone, guys, like, I can't make this up. Like, every time, sorry, one second. Every time I open the Photos app, Allie's face, and it's like all
my pictures, and I use those. Like, they featured me in an article, and I used your picture, and I gave you photo credit, and they were like, whose picture credit? I was like, Carlie, no.
Guys, I mean, come on, like, literally, isn't this so funny that literally every time I'm not mad. Every time I open my phone, I get to see her beautiful face. But I just think it's so funny. On April 30th, I fear I won't get to see it every day.
That's the end.
It'll be
we need to have a little celebration.
Oh, I forgot. I've been meaning to tell you that. It's so funny. Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
That's awesome.
Okay, but yeah, I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like that's what's so cool, though. And you're like, what was crazy is you're like the third friend that I've seen like have this like mini viral moment. And it's really just interesting that like we're in a day and age where, like, I was just listening to a podcast and they were like, we might not be the first wave, like we didn't get in early, you know? But we have this second wave because now we have this second wave of like, but now we know what works.
Yes.
And now we know what, you know, we have a system. So it's just really interesting. But so that's awesome. So you started in New Mexico, Texas. Mm-hmm. You worked at a church. You moved to LA. I feel like it's so interesting to meet people that are like, especially someone like you who was so integrated into the local church and like into a place like Dallas, like, you know, Bible Belt, like local church, and then coming to LA and like pursuing this dream that I feel like a lot of people think like we're all like crazy for, you know, like pursuing the entertainment industry. And I know we feel that way. And I'm just curious, like, for you, and like this ties into like you gaining a small following too, but like how do you balance like being a Christian? Like, what does it look like to be a Christian and pursue the entertainment industry and be faithful, you know? And, like, how do you maintain, like, what are your practical, like, guidelines that you have for yourself? But then also just, like, how do you stay the narrow path, you know?
I've been thinking about this a lot, especially lately, because I do think in Christian culture, especially here, because it is really different everywhere. Yeah. And you can find anything anywhere. Yeah. But I think in Christian culture, there is so much, possibly too much, possibly not. I don't know. It's different. Yeah. But there's so much obsession with what's God's will for me, what's God's plan for me, all of this stuff. And that's beautiful. I think God called me to LA. I think God, when he made me, I think he gave me passions and gifts different from other people for a unique purpose. I think he's incredibly, remarkably intentional with us. And I believe if you're following him wholeheartedly, he does have a very specialized, unique plan for you. But I think here, I've seen a lot of just obsession with that. And I really think often that can just be, and I'm guilty of this, but I think that can just be my own plans, desires, agendas with the name of God kind of just stamped on top. And I'm like, no, I don't want to have a God-shaped box within my life. I want, and I'm praying for boldness for this, but that's the most important relationship in my life. That's the most, Jesus saved me, and he's my best friend, and I want to live for him so much more than I want to find success in this very temporary life. And I don't even think I would enjoy this success if I got it on my own, you know, outside of him. And so I think something really big for me is I always remember, because I can get caught up. What's God's will for my life? What's God's plan for me? Am I going to book this role? Am I going to do this thing? Is this video going to work? Am I going to pass this class? Whatever. And I think I'm really remembering he has that plan and it's locked in. I'm not going to lose that. I'm not going to lose what he has for me. But on the same like playing field, his word is really clear. His will for me is that I will rejoice always and pray without ceasing and give thanks in every circumstance, or that I will seek justice and love mercy and walk humbly with my God. And that's his plan for me. Yeah. And every single believer, before his plan is for me to be an actor, a comedian. Yeah. And so I really always...
And if you can do that through being an actor, comedian.
Praise God.
Great.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that you can have that without that.
No. And I think there's so often that lie in your head of, when I have this platform or when I have this thing, then I'll use it for the glory of God. And I'm like, if I'm not walking with him now, if I'm not telling people about him now, or if I'm embarrassed of him now, none of that is going to change when you give me more of a platform.
It's like tithing, right? It's like whenever people say, they're like, oh, but when I get rich, when I have $100,000, then I'll give more away. And it's like, but if you don't know how to give away, and I'm preaching to myself here, guys.
Same. Yeah.
But it's like, if you don't know how to give away $10 of your 100, who's to say you're going to give away 10,000 of your 100,000?
Yeah,
like
or even 10 of your 100,000. Like,
right.
Yeah,
right.
That's been a big thing, because I think when I first moved here, I was scared because I never want to offend anybody or step on anybody's toes. Yeah. And I'm not pushing my beliefs on anybody. I just believe them. And I'm like,
come on,
I want everyone to know this love that I found. And if they don't want it, totally fine. I'm not judging anybody. But I think at first I was really timid. And then I realized that if that's genuinely the most important thing to me, and I believe that he saved me and has given my life infinitely more joy and purpose, then if I love the people I'm around and I sincerely believe this, then I'm going to share that. Yeah. If I found the greatest gift of all time, why would I just keep it to myself when there's enough for everyone?
Right. Yeah.
And so I think I was just like, if I'm too scared to share that now, what makes you think you would all of a sudden have this burst of bravery on stage accepting an Emmy or whatever?
Right. But I see that for you. It's so funny. I think I haven't really thought about it until we're talking about it right now. I really haven't processed it, but I think I remember when you first moved here, and there was nothing bad. You were being faithful, but I remember you were pretty, like, I think timid's the right word. You were more like to yourself, but I've seen you like grow in boldness. I think we all have. But it's funny because I had already lived in LA 2 years, and I kind of went through the same thing where you're like, I don't want to get canceled. I don't want to step on toes. I don't want to burn that bridge. But at the end of the day, it's like, if someone doesn't want to be in our life because of what we believe, that shouldn't we shouldn't be the ones to make that decision.
Right.
Like, if someone else doesn't want to be in our life, that's okay. You know, I can understand. But at the same time, like, we're not going to change who we are. And why would we want to be anything that's not ourselves anyway?
Yeah. And some of my best friends on the planet are people that don't agree with me. Yes. They think I'm crazy. Yeah. That's fine. Same. Of course. But I just want to be honest about what I believe and share that. It's
so good.
And nothing else is really worth chasing for me if you don't have that.
That's so good. So are there any, like, that you feel comfortable sharing? Are there any, like, actual, like, practical guidelines that you take, like, working not in a Christian sphere? Like, we work in I don't really like the word secular, but I don't like the word secular, but in a we don't work in ministry, you know, but we're in the world. Like, we're in everyday life, on set, all these things. Like, are there, like, even when it comes, or is there a time when you didn't take a role or, like, have had to make hard choices for the sake of your faith? Like,
I think the most important thing to me, and it sounds so basic because it's what everybody says, but the most important thing to me is just spending that time every single day before. For me, it's really important before I go, just praying or reading my Bible or just spending time with Jesus, and whatever that looks like that day. I don't think there's one structure you have to follow by any means, but I think that's something I've found is completely vital because it is, especially, I got to work on a really big set this last summer and it was so exciting. But I remember how easy it was to get on set and then you get so caught up. It's the most amazing industry in the world. You're literally like, oh my gosh, they're actors I've been watching since I was a kid and the lights, and I'm on the Paramount set and it's so amazing. And I just remember realizing, like, I can get so easily distracted. I have to spend that time every day. And I know it sounds so cliche, but how they say, pastors will say, like, you don't go without eating every day, so why would you go without feeding yourself spiritually? Wow.
Yeah.
And I have just seen, when I worked at a church and I was surrounded by other people who believe the same things as me, and we were constantly reminding each other of those things, it was a lot safer environment to, I don't want to say coast, but in a lot of ways, you just had a lot more people pushing you that way.
Yeah.
And now oftentimes, you know, I'll be the only person that believes that way in a room. And I just have to be aware of that. I can't really just
and know what you believe so that you're not compromising yourself based on everyone else, probably.
And there have been roles, as I think with everyone, you kind of have your own lines and you have to know what you're comfortable with. Yeah. But I think it's so interesting because there will be roles that are smaller projects and it's really easy to turn them down because you're like, okay, whatever, I don't want to do that. But then when you put more money on it or more success, you really have to know what you're comfortable doing.
Or you put a big name on it, or, you know, you get a really big opportunity and have to decide.
Totally. I remember there was a role that I got offered. It was honestly the first really big role that I was offered, and it was this last summer, and it doesn't matter, but it was just something I was really not comfortable with. And to be fair, I think it was something a lot of people probably would draw the line on. Right. But I remember thinking because it was just a lot of money, and money is so hard out here.
Yeah, money is so hard out here.
But it was a lot of money, and I remember sitting down and thinking, like, if I actually mean what I say, which is that I want to do everything in my career to the glory of God, then I know that I can't take this. And then on a practical level, I don't want to wake up the day after it airs and talk to my little sisters about them seeing it, or, like, you know,
it's not something you're proud to show. So why would you do it?
Yeah. If I say I'm not in this industry for money, which right now that checks out, but, like, if I say I'm not, then I really want to make sure to live that out. It's not easy though.
It's really good. No, I think it's really interesting. I think the entertainment industry, and, you know, that means so many things. It means, you know, acting and comedy, but it also means social media, but it also, you know what I mean? Like, it's so, this big word that's all encompassing and is so big and honestly, like, kind of scary, like, intimidating to be saying, like, and it's also, like, I try not to be, like, prideful, like, yeah, like, we're called to the entertainment industry. It's like, you know, like, Right.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Like, you're called to the entertainment industry, but it's like, okay. And like you said, like calling and purpose, it's like, no, actually, like we're called to be faithful.
Yeah.
And I feel like you and I and so many of us have been put in this place, and we just have been like dropped on the map in this space, and this is where we get to be faithful. And if he picked us up and put me on a cornfield, I'd do my best.
Be faithful there.
Be faithful there.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my best to be faithful there too. But at the end of the day, like, this is where we are. This is where he has us. And so this is like where we get to be faithful. Okay, so I have a couple. I think this is so good. I have a couple I haven't figured out the name for the segment. If anyone has any ideas.
Yeah.
Like, I've thought about it. It's so great. Spicy spirituals question.
I kind of like
spicy
that.
spiritual.
I kind of like that. Spicy.
Or like just like some version of hot topics. But I would love to know your take on, and not your take, like your biblical take on like, can you go to a comedy show that has crude humor? Or that is like really, or like should you, or like what does that look like? Like, can I go to a comedy show? Like, can I go watch Matt Rife?
I hope so.
Can I watch Nikki Haley? Like, it's just a really, is that her name?
Yeah.
Nikki Haley. Like, I think that there's probably hot takes there if you're comfortable sharing.
No, yeah.
But,
no
one talks about that, I feel like.
I feel like I've thought about this a lot.
Oh, I just sneezed. Hold on.
Bless you. Bless you.
Okay.
Carlie has the cutest sneeze I've ever heard in my life.
Oh, you're so cute.
Do I think you can go to a comedy show? I mean, yeah, I do all the time, to be honest.
No, that's great.
Well,
that's great.
Yeah, but I think this is something I've thought about a lot because also even just assuming, everyone has a different conviction about this.
Yeah.
Like, it starts when you're so young. Certain parents will let their kids watch way more than other parents. Some kids were allowed to watch SpongeBob, like,
right.
But
it's all different.
It all is very different. And I mean, I think about the verse that's coming into my head is just in Philippians when he says whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is I don't have the whole verse memorized, but lovely, whatever is pure. Think about these things.
Yeah. And
there is just a real truth to like a lot of media doesn't necessarily meet all of those standards, but here's what I think. I think everybody is created in the image of God. Everyone. Yeah. Not just people who believe in him. Everyone is created in his image, and I think every creative, like, he's the ultimate creator. He created us. He's the first creator. So everything that is created has somewhere along the line everything. It just has little pieces of him and little parts of him. Whether they know it or not. Yeah, whether they know it or not. I do think you have to know yourself. Like, certain people will think watching certain things will just mess with their head or cause them to sin really or whatever, really impact you. Yeah. I can't watch certain scary movies because I just know it puts me in a weird headspace. Yeah. Or some people, whatever it is, whatever your convictions are. Right. The thing that I think is most important in this, again, I don't know. This could be right, could be wrong. No, come on. But the thing I think is most important is kind of going off of your convictions because I agree. I just think there are certain movies or shows that I can watch that sincerely, I think it's totally fine. Yeah. Yeah. But that might be different than what someone else feels comfortable watching. But I agree with you, and not to cut you off, but I just think it's interesting because I feel like we as Christians so often say, this is good, this is bad, this is allowed, this is not allowed. Right. And like Harry Potter bad, VeggieTales good. Like why? Rated R bad, PG good, and then you're like violence bad, mystery good. Like, I just think we put it in these categories and it is so not black and white. And I think it frustrates me that it feels like, you read Harry Potter. Me reading Harry Potter on the plane yesterday. Like, you read Harry Potter as a kid, and I literally have conversations with people. And I was at coffee with someone and he was like, yeah, I never read Harry Potter. I'm like, oh, let me guess. Parents thought it was satanic. They're like,
Yeah, exactly. And you have like the Harry Potter satanic kids, and then like the like I watched
the Harry Potter satanic kids.
You know, like the parents are like Harry Potter satanic, and then the other parents out were like, this is great storytelling.
Yeah.
And when I read Harry Potter, guys, I don't have a problem with Harry Potter. And I think
Right.
we would all say that now. You know,
Right.
I think most people would agree with that. But it's just, so I think it's really interesting to be like, put things in categories when in reality, we should be choosing based on our own struggle.
Yes.
And our own conviction.
I agree. And this is something, oh my gosh, I think about this sometimes. I lost a couple of my friends when I was young.
Yeah.
And we had just a very traumatic event and
yeah,
terrible.
Yes.
And during that time, that was a time I really leaned on the Lord.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
more than I ever had before.
Yeah.
And I just mean this so sincerely. One of, I believe, God's greatest gifts to me during that season was comedy.
Wow.
And not because I was using it to just check out and forget, but because I think there is something inherently beautiful and God-honoring about laughter and joy. And I'm not saying that I think there are things I wouldn't say or certain things. Right. Everyone's line is different. Right. I'm not here to tell anyone what to do or not to do. Right. But during that time, there were definitely people who would say, within the church, who would say, you don't, like, that's just putting a Band-Aid on a wound, like, all of this stuff, you don't need that, you just need, and
but it was literally healing you.
Yes, and it's not because I'm experiencing this apart from God. It's like God created laughter, he created joy, he created comedy, he created storytelling.
So good.
He gave J.K. Rowling her brilliant mind, and I just don't think... I think there are things that are good and bad. I do. Or right and wrong. But I don't think...
Yeah, there's some things that are clear. Yeah. Right? There's some things that are black and white. But there's so much that is also fiction.
Yes. Or you can laugh. Like, I also just don't think it's always that serious. Like, sometimes it's just funny.
Like and sometimes it really is a joke.
It is a joke. Or you'll say things and I'm just like... Sometimes I'll say things and be like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Yeah. But sometimes I'll say things and kind of just laugh. And you know what? We're humans. We're doing our best. And God is so gracious to us that I just promise. Good. The one thing I do promise is that you're not going to get to heaven and God's going to be like, you watched Harry Potter. Go over here. Like, I don't know. If
you watched Harry Potter growing up, go to the left. And if you watch Harry Potter, go to the right.
If your parents let you watch SpongeBob, you need to sit in this waiting room. I don't know. Yeah.
No, I agree. I think, and I love that. And I think it's so cool because, but again, I think, the Bible is clear, like, I think, like, what you feed grows. And, we are called to, like, be set apart. And there are all these verses, in Romans and in all these verses about, pay attention to what you pay attention to. Yeah. And I think that is something that I try and live by of like, I do pay attention to what I pay attention to. But I also think that there is so much good in the entertainment world that really can be, emphasized and we can enjoy. And enjoying entertainment is not sin. And I think that is often sometimes where I land. It's like, like enjoying good entertainment does not mean that you are being lazy or sinful. Obviously, if that's all you do every day and you don't work, whatever. But like reading a book, watching a movie with friends, going to a comedy show, like those are the joys of life.
Yeah. Find the good too.
Yeah.
And then know the line and pray about it and ask God about it and find those convictions. And I never want to praise the things that put him on the cross, but I also think I agree, there's so much good, and I think it can be so beautiful. And the Westminster Catechism says the chief end of man is to glorify God and enjoy him forever, and I think a lot of believers can kind of just completely lose the enjoy him forever piece. And I'm like, he wants us to enjoy him. And I think there is a quote, I'm gonna completely misquote, I need to Google where it's from, but it says the best way to glorify God is man fully alive. Wow. And Jesus says, I came so that they can have life and have it to the fullest. And I just don't want to be so worried about the exact semantics and the exact all of that. And again, I'm not trying to say like do whatever. I do think you need to take sin seriously, but I think God really loves when we enjoy creation.
I agree. Wow. That is such a word, man. I'm encouraged.
I'm encouraged too.
Dude, guys, this is Ally Wolfer. Love Ally Wolfer.
Fun. This was a lot faster than our last podcast. Carlie, you're killing it.
We crushed it. Guys, follow Allie Wolford on it. What is it, Allie Wolford?
It's like Allie. It's Allii.
I'll put it in the description.
Yeah.
Follow Allie on Insta, TikTok, all YouTube, all the things. I don't know. Are you on YouTube?
I'm on YouTube.
Come
Shorts.
on.
It's not. It hasn't really taken off yet.
She figured out Instagram. YouTube Shorts.
Yeah, Instagram,
like,
YouTube,
subscribe.
And
Yeah, and if you like these videos, hit subscribe.
Yeah.
Tell your friends. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a follow, give us a rating, all the things. But that's all for this week on The Rooted Real. The Rooted Real, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.